So good evening, everybody. My name is Brother Mark. I'm one of the licensed practitioners here at Center for Spiritual Living, Redlands. We welcome you. Is anybody here for the very first time? You are. Welcome. Welcome. We have a visitor packet. If we can make sure that gets over, and we have an IOU for one of the visitor packets. So thank you. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. On Wednesdays, we keep the service kind of casual, so if anybody has a check-in, we're happy to hear from you. Does anybody have a check-in on anything that you've been either working on or wanted to throw in the mix for tonight?
I have some. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to share something that happened this week. And I was in the Arby's roast beef drive-thru, and this lady in front of me, she pulled up, and it was kind of funny because they have a new speaker and an old speaker. So she's trying to talk to the old speaker, and the lady's talking to me in the new speaker. I can't hear you. So I said, I think you went too far. Do you want me to give you your order to her? She said, no. Well, she was going to, and she said, no, I'll just drive forward. So she went to the place to get her order and everything, and then it was my turn. And she says, okay, it's 9:13. She goes, oh, your friend in front of you paid for your lunch. And I said, oh, you mean she paid it for it? She goes, yeah, she said she wanted to pay for your lunch. And I thought, like, wow, I should have ordered a bigger lunch. But anyway, I just thought that was beautiful, that I didn't expect. I tried to help her because she moved too forward for her order, and she blessed me with my lunch.
Very good.
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Go ahead, Jane.
Just generally, I'm doing pretty well. I feel like things are moving faster for me now. I'm starting to get more money, and things have been going pretty smooth, and I've been having a lot of fun, and I don't know, just kind of like meeting good people everywhere I go, and I think it's great.
Very good.
Wow.
Is there something you might attribute that to?
Yeah, just I've been really focusing on what am I paying attention to, and because I've been in really, really difficult situations this summer, and I acknowledge that, like, okay, I feel this way, that's fine, but what do I really want? And then I put most of my focus on what I want instead of what I have, and then I'm actually getting what I wanted.
Very good. So you're creating.
Yeah, it seems to be working.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. Does anybody else have anything? All right. Does anybody know what the topic was for tonight?
No.
No? You do, but you're the musician, so you would know. You would know. Do you know?
Something like visualizing your faith or something like that. Visualizing your faith.
Vitalizing your faith. Yes. Did that call you here?
It did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best to deliver the goods. And the goods are going to come tonight from the Science of Mind text by Ernest Holmes. And it's been a privilege for the last 10 weeks or so. I've been teaching the foundation class, which is the first class in Science of Mind. It's 10 weeks, and we're in week 8. This Monday will be week 8. And I'm going to tell you what, I've really learned a lot by retaking the material. So I started in 1996, and I'm going to tell you what, it's every time that you relook at material, even if it's to you old, if your consciousness has changed and your awareness has shifted, the material can be tremendously meaningful to you. So for me, vitalizing faith is really important, because no matter where you are and no matter what you're experiencing, you can try something new. Is anybody willing to try something new? Are you? Excellent. So I think from one of the sharings, James had said that the summer was difficult, but now that he's made changes during the fall, and now he's setting out intentions on what he wants to create, and he's finding that if you're looking for good, you can find more and more good. I thought you also said not only money. I thought earlier today you go, I have money, but I want money, and I like that. So you were becoming a bigger receptor to your good, and I think that's one of the keys in revitalizing faith. And also did you say everywhere you went you're finding nice people or good people?
Yeah, and I'm even noticing really interesting shifts in energy, like, because I'm a cashier right now. When I take over the lane from some other cashier, that's when I'm getting the negative people. And then I like clean up my lane and I'm like, okay, bring the good people.
That's awesome.
And the good people start coming to me.
That's awesome. And so that's a lesson for life, your lane. Your lane is your work experience, right? And your lane in our life can be your lane in your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you said you cleaned up the lane at the work, right? At the workplace?
Yeah, well, like, because when I come back from lunch, there's, say, someone at check stand number 9.
Yeah.
And then it's my turn.
Yeah.
They're like, here, can you finish up this guy? I'm like, what is wrong with this person?
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like it's like, maybe I'm too positive and the customer just hates that or something. But once they leave, then I, like, do my magic.
All right.
I'm like, okay, bring good people. And I have a blast. Like,
That's
I
awesome.
get the best people. They answer questions that I've been putting out to the universe. Like,
Very
I
good.
need information on such and such. And then this customer comes up, oh, blah, blah, blah. You should buy this. I'm like, there's the answer. That's great.
So we can learn from that sharing as pick your lane for your life, and we can clean up our lane. If we're having remnants that are not serving us anymore, we can consciously choose to let those go, and we can replace those. I think it's really important as we let things go to consciously and intentionally fill those with something positive or life-affirming, love-based, a spiritual quality, a God quality, something of the divine, something that will serve you for your best and highest good, and call that forth. And so I'm going to start going through the material. There was quite a bit of it. From Science of Mind, page 159, simplified, vitalizing faith means having the conviction that all is well. Just if you're willing, say it with me. All is well. Say it again if you wish. All is well. Is it?
Yes.
All is well. Very good. So in order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought which will weaken this conviction. And our life is some part of God, right? Spirit incarnated in us. So just as many times when you're in a center for spiritual living or in this particular center, I like to use the analogies, and sometimes I even do that with meditation. I thought I heard a seagull in part of it. Right? And so the visual could be in the beginning of that music was the ocean. If the ocean is source, and you are the wave that goes on the beach, right, or to the sand, each wave, if you think about it, is an individualized expression of the ocean or that source energy. The same thing in life. You can use that as an analogy, or the sun. You could say, just as the sun is the source energy, we are a ray of that same source energy. So if you think about the ocean, what happens to the wave once it goes back onto the shore?
It dissipates.
It dissipates?
Yeah. It goes into the...
I was going to say it's...
All goes
Yeah,
back.
it does. It returns, right? It gets sucked back in to its source. And I think that that's a beautiful analogy that we can use as students of Science of Mind, and that really, can we ever be separated from our source? The answer is really no. We can experience in our humanness what feels like panic or dread or fear or doubt or worry or sense of lack or limitation or not enoughness. And it's usually our humanness. Usually that dial is up too high, right? And so just like you would turn down the radio if it was too loud, I would say we can turn down our humanness. It's always a choice. And we can turn up the volume on our spiritual awareness, our spiritual self, our divinity dial, right? We can turn that one up. So we want to turn down the humanness. That's where all, everything opposite to divinity lies, is in our humanness. And in our divinity and our spiritual awareness, we can integrate that more by choosing to create a space for it to have more of it in our life, in, through, and as our life, and have its full sway in, through, and as our life. That's a declaration that we can make at any time. It's a choice. And so I'm going to encourage everybody, and especially during this fall period, the winter period, the holiday period that's now fast approaching, to just consider if there's things that are happening that are causing trepidation or fear or doubt or worry, to simply try to turn those down, that dial down, and see what works for you. Try something new. This revitalizing faith, or vitalizing faith to me, is about experimentation with something that's new. If you've had one way to do meditation for many, many months or years, try chanting. Try something new. If you have a certain mantra you use, maybe you do something different. Maybe you start journaling. Maybe you take a class. Maybe you pick up a book, right? Maybe you listen to a CD. Maybe you try something that you haven't tried before. Maybe you try having a sacred space at your house that you set up. I've seen in some people's homes like a beautiful altar space that works for them, so that when things are getting too much and life's getting too frantic or busy, they can just simply take a place within the home that's a little sanctuary within the sanctuary of home, right? So I'm going to encourage everybody as part of Vitalizing Faith to try something new. And so back to the Science of Mind text and some of the quotes that I pulled. Affirmations and denials are for the purpose of vitalizing faith. It's one of our tools. So does everybody know what an affirmation is? Yeah? So it's usually the I am statement in the present moment, and it's declarative in a positive way. Like, I am abundant. Let's just say that. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am well. I am vital. I am healthy. I am whole. Complete. I am perfect. Right here, right now. Does anybody know what denials are as a tool?
Something with a no and a not.
Say it again?
Something with a no or a not.
It could be, yes, it could be with a no and a not. And what else? I heard everybody speak.
Oh, I just said a not. That's what I
A not? Yeah. Did you have something more? In the very back, the rowdy one? Okay, so Emma Curtis Hopkins in Science of Mind Teaching is an expert. So it might be also something that came let's say you had a medical appointment and it's a prognosis that you don't want to accept. You can deny that. You can deny that and declare instead, your wholeness, your vitality, your vigor. Go ahead.
You can, instead of saying not, or I am not, or I don't have this, maybe you can say I am free of concern.
Yes.
I am free of this aforementioned ailment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to use the word no or not, and you can.
Right, exactly.
So whatever's comfortable for you, it's part of this practicing. That's to me a tool. Like, do you remember Felix the cat? The wonderful, wonderful cat? Yeah. So what did he have all the time? Yeah. And so the revitalizing your faith could mean like, let's look in my bag and say, do I need to add more into my faith bag, right? And you pull it out for yourself. Because whatever you declare, whatever you affirm, whatever you accept, whatever you embrace, whatever works for you, I say use that more, right? Did you have something?
Yeah, just kind of semantics. I worked with a doctor, a holistic doctor that does like emotional clearing, and she told me that the body doesn't understand not very well.
Right.
So you sometimes can reword it like, it's just saying I am sick. You don't want that because then you'll stay sick. You can say I feel this illness leaving me.
Okay.
And you say like I am no longer that. And no,
Okay.
I'm healthy. I don't know. Maybe that's confusing.
Not really. It's whatever works for you.
I've also heard that like sometimes even with manifesting, if you're focused too much on what you don't want,
Yeah.
you end up getting that anyway. Because
Yeah.
you're thinking about like.
So think of what you just said. If you're focusing on what you don't want, there's a very common saying in Science of Mind centers: what we resist persists. Right? What we resist persists. So we don't want to give that energy. Instead, you declare, the affirmation is a tool to declare what you do wish to experience. Right?
Yeah.
You attract what you exact.
Yeah, you do. And right. And if you want to start over, you can.
Right.
That's the thing that I love about this teaching, is it requires nothing. It requires nothing except for your willingness, your openness, and your free will to choose anew. When you come through the sanctuary doors, does anybody know what it says over the top?
Change your thinking, change your life.
Change your thinking, change your life, yes. And it's even more than that. It's really when you change your core beliefs, then I believe you can manifest. So, and it's all an exacting science. So, for example, the more that we may have to declare over and over and over again our health, our vitality, our wholeness, our perfection, our oneness, right? And it doesn't matter how many times that you have to do that. I would say you keep doing it till that it becomes our life experience. That's how you know when things are working. And when things are not working to the satisfaction of yourself, you just simply make a change. Just like you would change the music in your car, or you would change the station. Again, I would encourage all of us to consider that it might be as simple as turning down the humanness, or maybe even shutting off the news altogether, right? And turning up the spiritual dial, the divinity dial, the things that infuse and truly revitalize our faith. And each of us is going to be a little different. Just like some of the waves that come in, some are going to be like a little wave, some are going to be like a surfer, approved wave. Some might even be a tsunami or some sorts, right? So, and it all always goes back into the source and starts the cycle all over again. And so there's a simple way, and I've spoken about this several times from here, that practitioners are trained to do prayer treatments about the people that request them. And so one of our shortcuts is always to see perfect God, perfect man. Perfect God, perfect man. So despite what somebody may be going through, we can declare affirmatively in our treatment work and in our prayer work, perfect God, perfect man. It doesn't really matter what's happening to the body temple. It doesn't really matter what's happening, because there's this part of us that is the spiritual truth about us. It's our spiritual muscle. It's our core. It's innate. And it is that place in us that has never been, nor could ever be, hurt, harmed, or endangered in any way. And I believe that when you take the time, like you did today, to keep appointments, to be still, to practice meditation, whether you do them at your home or you do them in a center like this, it becomes quite more powerful when it's in a center with like-minded people, because the energy seems to be more intense. And I'm going to also encourage you to do that even if you're alone, possibly in your car, not while you're driving, right? Maybe before you drive. Set an intention, set a way. So this perfect God, perfect man, does that make sense? So if Spirit made you perfect, whole, and complete, if you're a masterpiece of the divine, what's missing? What's lacking? What's needing? What's wanting? There's really nothing. And again, it can go back as simple as for each of us to find a way to turn down the humanness, turn up the, what's that dial?
Spiritual.
Right, the divinity dial. I like the DD, or the spiritual dial. And it can be sometimes as simple as that. It can be breathing exercises too, right? Sometimes to get into the meditations, we do an inhale for maybe a count of 2, and an exhale for 4, then an inhale for 3, exhale, you're just doubling it. Inhale for 3, exhale for 6, inhale for 4, exhale for 8, inhale for 5, exhale for up to 10. Sometimes that's all we need too, just I'm going to breathe my way through whatever this is. And that works too sometimes. So we must keep our faith vital in order to successfully treat for ourselves or others. And this is all still from the Science of Mind text. Oh, do you ever hear this phrase in centers? We must know that we know. Do you ever hear that phrase? What do you think it means?
Have conviction.
Yes, conviction. Exactly. So Ernest Holmes had a phrase. Do you remember? Anybody remember what it was? We must have a fire in the belly. That's what he used to say. But that's back in the 20s, right? So that's the conviction. So when you're speaking your word, if you have that conviction, your demonstration and your result of your work can be quite powerful. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Very cool.
You're sure that you know.
Yeah, that shows that you know. Yeah.
So
Know that you know.
Yeah.
know that you know.
Yeah.
Right. So we shall often need to know that the truth we announce is superior to the condition we are to change. You got me? So now we're on page 155, and I'm just going to go through some of this because I always do this. I think I can get this many pages out, and I got through this many. I got through one, but I always bring too many. So prayer is the mental approach to reality. It's not the symbol, but the idea symbolized that makes prayer effective. Did you catch that? Page 156. Those who have great faith have great power. Faith is an affirmative mental approach to reality. And for me, the key idea out of that is fear is the negative use of faith. It's faith misplaced. And it's a belief in two powers instead of one. If God is only good, if source is only good, if the divine is only good, if we only believe in one power and it's only a good power, then we just misplaced our faith. Right? So we can find that again. Page 157, there will never be an end to God. I love that. And then it also added, and the external verities, truth, love, beauty. And the key learning from this was the line, cultivate faith in these realities, not a difficult task, but a thrilling experience. And I love that he wrote it that way. It should not be a difficult task, but a thrilling experience for us to cultivate this faith in truth with a capital T, love with a capital L, beauty with a capital B. Another key point, prayer is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end. Like this practice of science of mind, it's a way. And our teaching believes there are other ways. It's always been, Holmes would say that this teaching was always meant to be open at the top. Right? And so it's meant to evolve. It's meant to grow. Have you ever heard the phrase, praying aright? Okay, what do you think that means?
Praying correctly. Praying correctly.
Right. And is there really a way to pray correctly?
No.
Not really. It's right. So it's, go ahead, Ellen.
By intention?
By intention, yes. And it's the focus on the things that I just said, these eternal verities, truth, love, beauty. Right? So the page 158 of the text says, when we pray in faith according to whatever the spiritual truth is or the principle is, prayer must be answered. So it's up to us to make that shift. And then the idea that faith is unconfined. I really like that. Do you like that?
Yes.
And it may be ours today. Let's just say, if you're willing, my faith is even stronger and has been completely revitalized to work for my best and highest good today, right here, right now. And so the other thing from page 158 was saying we can plant faith as like a beacon of light. And I love that. When I read that, I was like, wow. We can plant faith. Like sometimes I bring, it's kind of silly, but I sometimes bring this and then I forget to light it sometimes. So maybe I'll light it. Isn't that just the neatest little thing? Do you know what it is? It's like a little lavender candle.
I love that.
And sometimes, you know what? I can't believe I'm using a real match in a place with real paper. And sometimes, you know what? If we just have the littlest bit of light, right? The littlest bit of light can sometimes outweigh any and all darkness, right? Sometimes you have to remind yourself at your house, like sometimes when I'm working at home or we're working at home, sometimes we'll just light a candle like that. So to me, that little teeny candle can be our beacon of light. It can be our faith. And if it goes out, it doesn't mean my faith went out. Sometimes my little candle likes to go out on itself. So here's another good one that I wrote from that I thought was really powerful. The light shed by his faith will light the way for others. Do you ever think of that? Just it might even be as simple as cleaning up the energy in the aisle from the last person, right? When you said you're doing your cashier work, it could just be some leftover residue from the last cashier, or maybe some of the people that just were waiting way too long in the line, and then you might get a grumpy one or two that were in like a huge long line, and then the new check stand opens. And then I love what you said. You just took over your space, and you were like, boom. That's what we can do in our life, right? We can clear our lane. So did you all catch that our light, a light shed by his faith, will light the way for others? That might be why sometimes you're attracted to certain people. If we believe that the Spirit is incarnated in us and can demonstrate, shall we be disturbed at what appears to contradict this? It's page 159. So really, have you ever heard the phrase like me, Spirit and Spirit and I are a majority, or have you ever heard that? Let's just say that Spirit.
Spirit.
And would it be proper to say an I or a me?
And I.
And I.
Yeah.
Yeah, the I. Spirit and I.
Spirit and I.
Are a majority.
Are a majority.
Absolutely. So if you there's always a way. And you must have heard this saying before too. Sometimes I take it literally because I'm a literal guy. This two or more gathered. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
So when you hear that, it is this energy, it is this consciousness that can move mountains, can shift anything, right? And so you can call forth your majority by proclaiming your divinity. I think that's really a way to revitalize faith as well. So page 160, when we speak from the standpoint of the Spirit, then there can be no opposition to it.
Wow.
That's just what we were just saying, right?
Yeah.
So when we speak from the standpoint of the Spirit, there can be no opposition to it. Here's a good one. Are you willing to accept this? Listen to this one. When there's God, when you accept that there's God, there's Spirit within you, and you go forth anew into creation through each one of us, right? We're a new creation of Spirit. We're that creation of Spirit. When we are in such a degree as we speak the truth, the Almighty has spoken. That's from page 160, and that really moved me to share tonight, because that'll revitalize your faith. Because before, if we were speaking our word or praying, or we weren't able to manifest or create a life that we desired, we always have the free will to add tools, to make shifts. Sometimes, to me, the slightest little shift can have an amazing impact. Sometimes it's just waiting for a slight shift in a practice to make a tremendous impact. So what are some other ways to be a good student of science of mind? I love how simple that he puts this home. This is page 160. Does anybody know?
Meditation.
Meditation's good. So he writes, try to have a... Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, like do a daily devotional, to the works,
Sure. And you could do a daily devotional. You could have a practice at home before you do anything. You can even send out a way where you may not be able to see a way. I've done that a lot. You can declare and send out spiritual energy, white light, love, intelligence, whatever you believe, whatever works for you, to clear a path, to clear a way, to make a way where you may not be able to see or know the way.
Yes.
Right? And so this I thought was really cool. Have a state of equilibrium, which can come from meditation, it can come from breathing, it can come from these daily devotionals. Have a state of poise. I love that word. Have a state of peace. Have a state of confidence. Have a belief in goodness. So, another way to vitalize faith is you can have perfect faith when we cease contemplating the universe as opposed to itself. When we stay in universal good, capital U, capital G. And I love this one. This is also from Science of Mind, right around page 161. The will of God is not the will of suffering. And so we see, especially now, with what California's been going through and what the world goes through every day in the news, right? With shootings, fires. That is not God's will. So we must use our tools, to revitalize our faith and lift one another. The will of God is not the will of suffering. So page 162, we have to have an active faith, the faith of God, not merely faith in God. Got it? Under divine law, all things are possible. Cling steadfastly to the knowledge that God is good and God is all. Say with conviction, I know in whom I have believed. That's page 162. You feel like saying that? It feels a little bit religious. If you want to, I know in whom I have believed.
I know in whom I have believed.
All right. Oh, and there's the big ending coming up. Yeah. So, on the Science of Mind text, page 48, I just thought this was really beautiful. It was from our class. If a man is seeking to demonstrate, he must tell himself that he has faith in his power, in his ability, in the principle, and in the certainty of the demonstration for which he works. Good enough? And I'd like to end with this affirmation. I affirm. I have faith in my power.
I have faith in my power.
I have faith in my ability.
I have faith in my ability.
I have faith in the spiritual principles.
I have faith in the spiritual principles.
I have faith
I have faith
with 100% certainty
with 100% certainty
in my ability
in my ability
to demonstrate what is for
what is for
my best and highest good.
my best and highest good.
Right here, right now. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. All right, thank you all. Is that good enough for a Wednesday? Thank you so much. And so, while Demi, you ready?